sit up here now, our speakers, and we've got two extra guest speakers. We've actually got Stuart, Nesbitt, who got a couple of shouts out just before, who's from Moreland Counsel, and Wiebe. We're going to Wiebe Wakker on the panel as well. If you want to just grab a chair on your way in as well, Wiebe. So I think, Wiebe, I'm actually going to throw the first question to you. So if people don't know, Wiebe's actually driven in his car from Netherlands to Australia. So my first question, I feel like I'm Don Lane or something like this with the long cord as I go over here. I'm just showing my age. So Wiebe, you just travelled from the Netherlands to Melbourne across Australia. So when we talk about range anxiety, what do you think about that?
I don't believe in it. I came up with my own term called range excitement. And so yeah, I only had it the first 2 weeks because I was really new to driving an electric car. But I found out like electricity you can find basically everywhere. So in Europe I feel very comfortable to drive until I have like 3% battery left, and then I'm sure that I will find somewhere a socket to charge it. I can understand here in Australia it's slightly different because the infrastructure is a bit behind and the distance are a bit more fast. But yeah, so far I've also been quite far. So I think it shouldn't be too much important.
Range excitement. So I'm actually going to open it up now to the people here. Has anyone got some questions for our panellists here? Yeah.
How did you find it coming across the Nullarbor?
Yeah, I get that question a lot, and especially before I started knowing where everybody asked me that, but yeah, quite easy. The distance over there are not so big. The biggest distance between roadhouses that I had to cover was 185 kilometers, and my range was 200 km. So yeah, I got stuck only once because of a problem with electricity or something at the roadhouse. But yeah, like South Australia was more challenging, like between Port Augusta and Alice Springs. Their distance I believe was like some point it was 255 kilometers without just anything in between. So that day I knew like today I'm going to drive and I'm just not going to make it. So just I looked at my weather app. I saw like the next day it's 12 hours later I will get a tailwind. So within 12 hours I get a tailwind, and then I drove 60k an hour all the way. So road trains were not really my friend. But then yeah, I did a record which was 235 kilometers. It was good. So then I put up some sunscreen for my tongue and waiting for a tow. So that's how I track myself a bit to the out there. But like most cars up now available in the Australian market where they do 300, 400 kilometers. So my car from 2009 has 200 kilometer range. So with like a common electric car at the moment, you can even turn on the AC or heater and yeah, pretty easy make it to your destination.
Any other questions?
Yeah.
Well, I'll ask questions, Stuart, because it got mentioned a few times about your hydrogen trial. Do you want to talk a little bit about what you're doing?
Oh, okay. Well, in actual fact, it's not a good news story. Unfortunately, we had to discontinue that project last year, but because the circumstances that led to the discontinuation of the project actually had nothing to do with the technology. It was about forming relationships with partners. We're in the process of developing the second project. We've already had a meeting with the Victorian Government and putting a submission to the Victorian Government's Hydrogen Investment Program. And so obviously we learned a lot in developing that project, and the reason why we went down that road in the first place is still relevant, possibly even more than they were before. So we're still continuing to get on that road with those findings.
That's what happens with early adopters,
Absolutely.
isn't it? Yeah, it's the lessons learned. Haven't inspired any other questions yet, or you're just gagging to get to the drinks?
I've got one more question.
Yeah.
Dave, with all your vehicles all at citywide, run by citywide, what influence do you have over your suppliers to supply EV vehicles?
More now than ever before, so new contracts with big organisations like Citywide for civil infrastructure and waste tend to go for a long time. So once they're locked in on a contract, whether it's Citywide or it might be another provider, tend to last maybe 10 years or more if they get extended. And so the contracts that they're currently in now, maybe 10, 12, 13 year old, where there wasn't a big push towards our suppliers to go down the sustainability path. These days, when new contracts are drawn up, new tenders go out to suppliers, and not just City of Melbourne, it goes to state and local government, there is a push that they do need to show us that they have sustainability objectives and targets, just like we do, and invest in cleaner technology. There is one example, not so much citywide, and I take your point, they're a very big organisation, I think they could do more. There is a small company that handle our graffiti removal. They've just invested, I think, about $60,000 in an electric van that goes around, has a water tank on the back, and the biodegradable chemicals they're now using to actually remove graffiti around the city and around our municipality. So there are contractors that actually are taking it seriously. But yeah, I think big organisations like Citywide and others could do more, but we do put more pressure on those organisations now with contracts that are being developed this year, next year and the year after. So they do have to start tying the line.
Bryce Gate from the Australasian Vehicle Association to Australia Post. Michael, yep. Michael, I was wondering how you went with the compliancing of your vehicles for driving on the road. What do they come under? Do they be registered, or do they need licences, or how did it happen?
So we worked with, we worked with a local company to help us with that. The big process in the first part was us getting permission to import it. We initially imported them under a temporary license. I can find out the details of who actually handed out that detail. But the ADR process just took a long time. I think it ended up taking 4 months or something like that for us to get to from the point of lodging our details, getting everything back, circling it, updating it, going through again. It's taken a long time. And the challenge for us now is that's not the only vehicle we're looking at. We're continuing to look at new vehicles. So we just keep on bumping into that sort of same roadblock.
Just to those of you with a number of electric vehicles in your fleet, have you had any issues when everyone does want to charge, in that they don't get the charge they need, or you've crashed the power building or something similar to that?
Oh, great. The answer is no. But that's largely due to the fact that where we've got most of our electric vehicle charging, the building has its own substation, so we've got a significant amount of energy. In actual fact, it's the Kovac City Centre that I'm talking about. So we've got 3 publicly available charging points there and 5 private for Council electric vehicles. And actually one of them is, ironically, was the first DC fast charger ever installed in Victoria back in 2012. And obviously when we did that installation, we knew we had the capacity, because literally the station is 5 metres away from the substation. So we actually, even though it was only a 25 kilowatt chat mode that was installed, because there were really none available in Australia back then. It was a US spec machine. We did the installation, and all the sub-circuit was basically 100 amp, because we knew that later down the track that we were going to go 50 kilowatt, which we have just done literally in the last 3 or 4 weeks. It's been upgraded to a Tritium 50 kilowatt. But the answer to your question is because we've had access to that infrastructure, and of course that infrastructure, or the level 2 infrastructure, could be used to actually charge our vehicles overnight. It hasn't been a problem. We have 11 electric vehicles on order as we speak, as a result of the adoption of the new vehicle policy last year that mandates zero emissions priority purchase. So I'm in the process of actually putting 4 more level 2 charging stations in at that site. And we've also got plans to install a second DC 50 kilowatt fast charger in North Coburg, close to the Western Ring Road as well. So we've been actively sort of balancing that, bringing more vehicles into the fleet and actually putting in the infrastructure. But the primary objective of the infrastructure, of course, was for the public. It was very important for the council to actually make those facilities available. And we're now up to 9 public electric vehicle charging stations, including the fast charge, across the municipality. And of course the additional 50 kilowatt DC fast charge will make that 10. and they're available 24/7, free for anybody to use.
So I guess this question is for anyone who's running fleets, I guess, for at the moment. From a commercial perspective, the purchase price, each ticket price is obviously quite high compared to petrol, but the ROI over X amount of years is a lot better. In the last kind of 12, 18 months, that kind of time frame, has it been easier for you to justify buying vehicles based on the ROI? Because I know we're seeing with a lot of some of our commercial customers, they've gone, okay, it's 50 grand for a Zoe or a Camry or whatever, but over 5 years, if they're reducing servicing, they're reducing, the fuel costs, because in a lot of cases, the fuel costs big fat zero, then it makes a lot of sense. So I'm just really interested, when you go to your masters, is it an easier sell because in case of you're double through? Sorry, it's a long-winded question. The way I see it is that the ticket price shouldn't really matter as much as the long-term sort of value proposition of the vehicle itself.
In our particular case at City of Moreland, because the primary objective has always been about reducing emissions, the business case was always important. For that reason, we commissioned Pitt and Sherry about 5 years ago to do a comprehensive feasibility study, which is available on our website if anybody wants to download it. It's getting dated now, but essentially it was the blueprint for us to take it forward. But as I said, when you've got a top-down approach that is primarily about reducing emissions, and then underpinning that with the business case, once we had that piece of work done, and we'd already been running the Nissan Leaf in our fleet for over 18 months, and so what we did was a direct comparison between that vehicle and its operating costs and a hybrid Camry. And the results of that ended up being a benefit cost ratio of 1.48. And of course that's when the cars, or the EVs, were actually significantly expensive, and as Dave said before, the first one that we bought was actually very expensive, but the second two that we bought were actually almost half that price. I think it was more about Nissan needing to unload the Series 1 because nobody could sell them, they couldn't sell them, but that's beside the point. Because essentially what it did was it set the framework for us in the future, and where we see it now, and as I said, we've just adopted a vehicle policy for Council vehicles last year, which mandates a zero emissions priority purchase, and it makes a specific point in that policy of saying that because we've done all that work on TCO, it doesn't matter how much that entry-level electric vehicle costs. You have to buy it. You can't fall back to a hybrid because it's cheaper. And so, that's a product of all that work that's been done that led up to that.
Yeah, just from, I know we've got a few commercial customers, and I know one in particular, I've been Brisbane, he's got a couple of Renaults over, and he's worked out 5 years, the ROI, he gets his money back based on servicing and fuel costs, and because he's doing it, he can pay, and he knows that over 5 years, and he's a relatively small business, but he knows he's going to get his money back up, and then after 5 years, he's still got the car. It's not like he's going to need a clutch pack or whatever.
And that's a really good point, because the other thing that is a product of all those investigations over the last 6 years and is now included in this new policy, and traditionally, like most councils, we would keep vehicles anywhere between 3 to 6 years. But what we've almost mandated now is that the electric vehicles, or the zero emissions vehicles, will be kept to 6 to 8 years, because typically in fleet management, that magic 100,000 kilometres is that point where you really start to drop off the cliff as far as the resale is concerned. But of course, the depreciation we find occurs with the electric vehicle very early on in the ownership, and of course, the sorts of things that will happen to a typical internal combustion engine vehicle that lead to its devaluation have everything to do with mechanical components, what's under the bonnet, and you don't have those issues with the electric vehicle. You really only got to worry about the battery pack, and as Dave pointed out before, manufacturers like Hyundai, for instance, and Tesla, have been this for a while, are actually basically guaranteeing those batteries for 8 years. And so you could potentially have vehicles in your fleet that are under warranty the entire time that you're owning them, and you've also extended your years of ownership to improve the TCO. So it all comes together.
Yeah. It's also then Janine, what's your decision making for you at Barwon?
I asked that question, and I think we did a business case, but we didn't do any in-depth kind of NPV or return on investment. Mainly, I think, well, because we had that mandate of getting to zero emissions, and probably different to other organisations is that we had to make a pledge to the state government of how much we would reduce our emissions by, and that is kind of written into an MOU or a statement of obligations that is between the minister and our organisation. So there is a consequence, I suppose, for us not meeting that. And because we were buying two, and it was a bit of a test case, I don't think that there was a heap of I don't think there's a lot of scrutiny on the economics of the decision.
Let's just do it right.
As opposed to if we were replacing, half the fleet or that kind of thing. But it's definitely a lot cheaper.
So our point of view as well.
Can we have maybe later discussion? You have very long questions, and we have other questions.
Just a quick one, and then.
Just I guess for the audience as well, is it that the justification that you guys are buying these cars translates to civil rentals from domestic owners? They understand the 5 and 10, 8-year thing like that as well. Whereas those that maybe not as well educated will just go for a Toyota Camry for 21 grand there or whatever. So that's the difference. So you guys are reporting from educated and understand the price.
Yeah.
For sure.
And Claire, what's your experience? Did you work with a lot of people coming to you for advice? What are the motivations of them when they're wanting to move to what they're doing?
Yeah, well, I guess what we've found, as I kind of touched on, is that the real motivations is around emissions reduction, and that's what gets people to start thinking about it. But then what we've tried to do through this project and what we've been able to do by showcasing some of the councils that have been leading in the space is that the total cost of ownership really is the business case and can provide that. Yeah.
I just wanted to add just one quick thing too, and I agree totally with what Stuart was saying before in regards to sometimes when you're making a decision to purchase, it's not always about the cost of the vehicle. We talked about obviously not wasting money and having some actually really good results from a total cost of life. We know that they're doing, it's obviously great for the environment. We are reducing emissions in doing so. There's a third thing there, I guess, is a triple bottom line model. The vehicles are safe. And so when you're looking at purchasing a vehicle, particularly like a government or for businesses or even privately, and you're looking for a 5-star NCAP vehicle, for an example, everyone, even the Nissan back in 2012, was a 5-star NCAP vehicle. So if you're looking at purchasing, yep, the cost of the vehicle is one thing, the environmental performance of the vehicle is another, but that safety is another thing that you really need to consider when purchasing fleet as well. So that's where they just ticked another box.
One here and then one there, and then we might wrap it up.
As a sessional lecturer at various universities, I'm very grateful that Barwon Water opened the doors and allowed students to research what you are actually doing. But storytelling is what we need to do better in the electric vehicle field, I find. But can you tell a little bit how you have made it even to the BBC News out of Melbourne this week? How do you get that story out about electric vehicles in a really well done way?
Yeah, and it
Plug me in.
Okay, yeah, so I've been, that was a bit my reason to do it also, because there have been many events in the past or promotional campaigns to promote electric vehicles, but they never really managed to get out of that, reach audience beyond people who are already interested in electric cars, and I think that's now the audience you need to reach to show just that it is possible. So I've been looking for an idea which really speaks to the imagination and which is a bit more interesting for a broader audience, and I have been targeting adventurous travelers and people who are interested in sustainability. And I tried it, I'm not really like sharing a lot of information about the technical aspect, like charging times or maximum kilowatt, this many, blah blah blah. And I'm just trying to show that that it is possible. And I think that has proved to work over the past years.
It's also, just to finish up, it's also about walking the talk. You know, it's about standing up for what you believe in. You know, I've got a electric scooter out there, and that's been my primary mode of transport for 10 years. So if you're going to talk about it, you need to do it as well, and that's what we're seeing happening here.
Yes, so in one of the first presentations, there was a figure that said 52% of all new light vehicles sold is a fleet vehicle, right? So all of these examples here are all purchased by the actual users. But I imagine, I'm not sure, might correct me if I'm wrong, that out of that 52%, the majority of those will actually be leased vehicles? Oh no?
I'm not sure either.
I can only speak for the City of Melbourne. We embarked on began leasing some fleet in 2016. We own our EV fleet. The reason we own them is leasing companies don't trust the residual value.
That was the question that I was going to ask.
And
Like,
so
is
as a
there
total
an
cost
offer?
of life, if you have the capital up front, it is much cheaper to own it. At this point.
We do the same. So we own and operate.
Yeah, but I guess that the follow-up question on that is that if you actually want to get a real dent into that 52%, you probably need to get lease companies on board. And probably what you guys are doing is great because you're going to provide the
Stimulates their interest, yeah.
data point of residual value.
I think if you went to Europe, North America and asked businesses there where their take-up of EVs is through the roof, their leasing organisations over there would be trusting the residuals because they've been doing it for years and years and years and years. We've had essentially one model here really, we've had the Mitsubishi, I suppose, on its own for 6 years. And so it hasn't been sold. There's 300 of them came to Australia, that was it. So now that all this, we've got I think 5 or 6 vehicles going to be under 50k by the end of the year, and they're going to be here, we'll see 2-3 years time, those vehicles coming into the second-hand market because there is real interest from the private sector to start buying these cars here for under 50k. And they might only want to run it for 2 or 3 years and then get the next model like a mobile phone. And so they'll start coming in play.
The other thing too, remembering too, and there's actually a passage in our vehicle policy that talks about corporate responsibility, acknowledging the fact that fleet operators in this country have a huge impact on the used car market, and so you've got to be responsible about what vehicles you're feeding into that used car market. So that's a big factor that we consider in our policy as well.
One thing I do know that I think touches on your point that there's a number of ways that we need to unlock fleets to help unlock the transition to electric vehicles more broadly. And one thing I do know is that there are a number of fleet management companies. So some people, yes, buy or lease, but also all go through a fleet management organisation. And I know that there are a number of those in Australia that are looking at what offerings they can provide on electric vehicles and packages that include electric vehicles and charging infrastructure. So they are, and the AFMA, the Fleet Managers Association, is really helping to continue that kind of movement within fleets as well.
Well, unfortunately, we're going to wrap up, but it doesn't actually end the conversation because most of our panellists are still going to be here and there's actually lots of knowledge in the room here as well. So please stay around, have a drink and continue the conversations. But I'd like to thank all our panellists and our speakers this afternoon, so we give them a big clap. Now, most people when they do speak, they get like a nice bottle of wine or a box of chocolates or something. We give people these LED lanterns and we're actually really addicted to them at Renew. So if you're actually, a cousin, brother, sister, niece or any relation to any Renew staff member, you've probably got one of these for Christmas at some stage. So we're going to give all one of these to all our panellists just as a thank you, and this will help you keep the lights on as well. And also, before I do the total wrapping up, I also got a couple more thank yous. I actually want to thank our two major sponsors, we have Evolution and as well as Bank Australia. And also I want to give a big thank you as well to our staff who've actually organised today. So Jodie Rashbrook, who's out there. Thank you, Jodie. and Kate Bailey, who of course is in the kitchen kitchen, and what she loves most doing is actually making sure everyone feels well fed and well drunk, not drunk, because we were driving. So please stay around for that. And also a big thank you to all our volunteers, especially our volunteers electric vehicle branch. And we're going to actually got about 70 volunteers helping us out over the next 2 days. So this event is only possible because of their help. So thank you everyone for coming along, and thank you for coming on your Friday evenings.